My name is Dave Barnes, and I am the chair of the board of Assiniboine Food Forest, which project's landscape appears behind me. So here we are at one of the trailheads into the food forest, but we see all these crow pin feathers. These are pin feathers. This is not an adult crow. This is a baby crow who never made it out of the nest. And these feathers are sprouting out of the quill pins, and this baby crow still wasn't able to fly, but all of its feathers appeared here on the lawn last week. Uh-oh. Let's go down the trail and check out the spring. This is a spring. This is one of Brandon's 2 springs, this one not very well known, where water just comes out of the earth. There's no day that the water doesn't flow. So of course this is nature's watering hole. There's a beautiful spot to have a spring. And all the birds appreciate it too. It's free drinkies, you know, it's the bird bath. We are walking on deer trails. We're following deer trails through the woods. That's all that we've done as volunteers. We have found the deer trails, cleared the branches off of them, put down some wood chips, and that's our trail. This is spongy ground everywhere. The water is that makes it all spongy. Beautiful old ash tree, a big tree. It was straight up at one time, and then slowly, with all the moisture in the ground, it slowly started getting more and more over. Last year it just fell, and we have 40 acres of beautiful public property. 10 acres of it are forest like this, amazing forest, so worthy of protection and preservation. We do operate several bird housing projects. This one up here is a cavity for cavity nesting ducks. We are walking a trail known as, we call this in our interpretive booklet, the Sugar Bush Trail, because this is where our charity makes maple syrup. And we have got probably 60 big maple trees in this woods right behind me. We tap in a hole, drive in the spigot, and then dangle a pail on there to collect the dripping sap. This one here is probably something on the order of 300 years old. This is a big oak tree. I counted one like this, and I counted 170 years of age. 170 growth rings. So some of these big oaks are much older than 200 and pushing 300, I feel. The one thing I want to do in the springtime, I'm going to come around to every tree that has been tapped before, and we're going to look at that wound. And so if this tree manages to do the proper healing this summer, well, I'll ask it for sap again next year, but otherwise it gets the year off. So we want to proceed here with the health of the tree uppermost in our minds. There are numerous medicinal plants around the area. This one here is called motherwort. It's a lovely thing in the spring, but come the fall, oh the burrs are quite unpleasant. So our trail systems literally go in every direction. We extend, the whole project extends now a half mile to the east. So our project out there is to restore ecosystems. Here we come to our community orchard. The idea is we are a public charity. This is a public landscape. We are producing fruit for the future. And that fruit is not going to be sold to anyone. That fruit is for you guys and future generations. That's what it's all about. We still need good gates on this orchard. We've got a great fence that keeps the deer out, that's for sure. One of the projects we'll do this summer is we're going to take a couple of borders of the fencing and we're going to plant grapes on the inside. We've got all the transplants ready to go, so grapes will be growing up inside the fence. We don't want to ever plow this soil. We never want to use chemicals. This is going to be an organic project, and it is. So here we just saw a tree swallow come out of this nesting box. There's tree swallows using this one. There's wrens using another one. We hope to see this fence become a wall of green with grapes dangling all over it. These maple trees here are part of what we call our legacy tree program. So we encourage people to gift us trees. And if they want to make a gift of $125, we will source a good tree, put it in the ground, and then take care of it. We'll also put a little plaque on it to commemorate the gift. So these were gifted by a very caring friend in honor and memory of her parents. And so we feel a certain responsibility to take care of them. To date, this is our signature project. We're calling this Dana's Garden. It's a prairie restoration. We are restoring here a natural native mixed grass prairie that would have been found here, you know, 200 years ago, before Brandon began. Today, the grasses that are dominating are all European and invasive. That happened because there was a farm here and because there was grazing going on here. The slow conversion of native landscapes into invasive European grasses. So what you're seeing, these tiny plants growing and coming up in all over the place, are native prairie. And here's a sign that one of our major supporters has given us, May Elsinger. So she's been a seed partner here in this project from the start. We certainly are going to be bee friendly on this project. We have irrigation donated to us by D&B sprinklers. What a magical gift. These piles, and I'm telling you, these are thick piles of quackgrass roots. Look at them. Amazing. Oh my God. These were all wheelbarrow dumps. That's quackgrass. That is the most invasive enemy of the restoration of prairie. We probably hauled 80 wheelbarrows of that stuff off of the landscape. It was such a task, and there's no longer any invasive grass in there. It's so beautiful. Now we've got some beautiful native plants coming up. We can see equisetum, the tall horsetails here coming up. We can see native milkweeds over there that are just springing out of the ground. And so many butterflies, so many monarch butterflies this summer. The milkweed is going to be a beautiful gift here. We certainly used the bonfire for the Assiniboine Food Forest events. We have always used it. We've had some beautiful indigenous sharing circles here among our most worthy events, and we look forward to having some more in the future. So it is a beautiful bonfire. I think it's the best one in Brandon, and you and your group are welcome to contact me, Dave Barnes, about the use of it for your event when we can do this again. We have a pile of concrete rubble over there, which we were going to remove, but then I found a snake always hanging around it. I found 3 of the snake skins from that garter snake. She's a big, hefty female, a good, you know, approaching 3 feet in length, and a big girl. So, and we've got every native grass and flower that is found in this region, and we have the attitude that we're going to keep on seeding wildflowers in there until we get a representative mix of that we find on the trails. Well, I'd like to introduce a bird teacher right now. In fact, this bird is nicknamed the teacher bird, and if you look him up in your bird books, you'll see him called red-eyed vireo. Anyway, the teacher bird goes like this, and he got his name because he's always doing the Socratic thing. Ask a question, give an answer. So in little triplets it goes like this. There's one doing it over there. We'll find one soon. We can pause and get him on the audio. There's the teacher bird. That's him posing the questions and then answering them himself. You'll find our nature trails everywhere through here. This is probably one of the finest groves of old oak trees in Brandon, so we're very happy to have this conserved for all time. Now, you just can't cut trees here. It's protected. This shed was the original honey wagon dump site. Back before Brandon had flush toilets, the poo had to go somewhere. That's the beaver lodge, and the beavers have used it for the last 2 winters. Here's the main loop trail back to Crow's General Store. We'll follow this one along because lots of people like taking the loop trail because they can have an ice cream at the end. Here's what I've always called the cathedral grove. It's a term used on Vancouver Island for a beautiful grove of oak trees. Down in this zone here is where we'll find deer every day. Certainly if you get up at 6 in the morning, you're going to find the deer, or in the evening you'll find them all over the place. They really are quite common. So the fact that we haven't seen one means we haven't really gone looking. We do things here in the community, so Don Ditchfield of Crows and myself, with both of our private properties and the Food Forest property, we just run trails everywhere for the general public. This is where the spring water ends up. You know, we saw the spring earlier. Well, here's where it goes into the river. So this is spring flow, clean flowing water. This is my own property here, and I like to play beaver. So you can see all the rocks. I mean, I brought all these rocks in here and just dropped them in here in an attempt to raise that pond. As the higher the level in the pond, well, the happier the turtles and frogs. I'll bring more. I really do want to see this. The beavers used to dam this all the time. And so I'm just being a recreational beaver. A little bit of the unfortunate side of trail creation and use. We find, well, I find garbage on the trails every day. So here's a perfect opportunity to say to all the users and all the walkers, hey everybody, this land really is not ours. This land belongs to nature. It also belongs to the natural inhabitants here, who are of course the Ojibwe, the Oji-Cree, the Cree, the Dakota, and the Métis Nation have all lived here in harmony with these lands for so long. And if we are going to learn our lesson today, let's learn a lesson of respect for the land. This is the fishing hole that marks what my neighbor and I call the conjunction of our properties. Right about here. He mows the trails that away towards his property, and I mow the trails that away towards my property. And here's where the fisher people come, where the creek, the spring-fed creek, flows into the river. Fresh frozen shiners. Well, please clean up your stuff when you're done fishing, everybody. Now we can see our beaver lodge. That's what they've built. A house of sticks. Kind of fun to walk across the ice there and check it in the winter, because you can see the vent hole and the steam coming out, and for sure they're in there. The willow tree is one of my favorites. There's a juvenile red squirrel. Willow trees all love to have wet feet, and then they too love to slowly fall over. And so here's a willow tree dropping down every year a little bit more. We used to be able to walk under it, but now, you know, you can still see people are keeping it clear as they duck under, but pretty soon it's going to be a chainsaw requirement here. The beaver is an integral part of nature because of its capacity to regenerate and restore ecosystems. Beavers are thought of as the engineers of the biological world here in Canada. We honor them in so many ways, and what our food forest wants to do is honor them in the most powerful way. That is, we wish to restore the beaver pond on our property. Oh yeah! So that's a great dream that we're looking forward to capitalizing on, because hey, 2021 is the United Nations, the start of the decade of ecosystem restoration. Hallelujah! Let us restore ecosystems, and if you can do it with water conservation, that's the most rapid way to do it. We have suffered here from, well, let's just say, inappropriate or no longer appropriate agricultural practices. What we're doing upstream in the basin of the Assiniboine is we're still eliminating forest, pushing it all over. We are draining landscapes, we are eliminating wetlands on all those farms upstream in, well, let's blame it on Saskatchewan. That's convenient. But still, we're doing it in Manitoba as well. So we do pay the consequences of agricultural practice down here for all the people that use industrial methods upstream and kind of forget the flood risk. Everywhere you go, more litter. This has been elevated by, you know, engineering. This is not the natural height of the land. There's another fawn. It's just a deer trail. We just interrupted them on their travels. Soon they'll be coming back together. We are now approaching the Crow's General Store pitch and putt. Oh no, it's just a, what's it called? A mini golf. It's a miniature golf, and it's being created right now, so. You can make this recognizable right at the entrance to Crow's. Woo-hoo. Take a little tour through the woods down there. It's pretty nice. This walk that we're on right now, this roadway, this 17th Street Dyke roadway, is the finest frog walk in Brandon. You can identify frogs here in April and May and even into June that are wonderful. 4 different species of frogs sing on both sides of us here in the spring. This pond here is a major frog pond in the spring, and also the pond on my property behind me. I would like to encourage all the viewers to honor the life of the land and the people that represent it the most, of course, which are our indigenous cousins. by supporting a charity that restores landscapes, you know, you could do worse with your time and effort. Join up as a volunteer. We're weeding that prairie every day, so we're looking for helpers. And anything you can do to make life a little more tolerable for our least privileged is going to be making a difference. Thank you so much for the inspiration for the tour.